The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it looks like the member for Kingston is not getting into cabinet after all.
There you go.
Some people bring happiness wherever they go, others bring happiness whenever they go.
And we would certainly be happy once they go. Welcome to my channel, y'all. I hope you're having a great day. Well, it was Wednesday yesterday in the House of Commons, and question period was as lively as ever. And Pierre was firing on both barrels. I can't play all of question period. This would be an extremely long video. But there were a few things that stuck out. So this video is going to be a rarity for me. I'm going to cover a couple of different topics. I hopefully won't drag this on too long. First, let's go to the first English exchange between Pierre Poilievre and Justin Trudeau.
Face an unprecedented threat from President Trump's potential tariffs. And what is the state of things here in Canada? Our economy is weakened. Our borders are weakened. Our military is weakened. And most of all, our Prime Minister is weakened. Why can't we have a carbon tax election so Canadians can choose a leader with the brains and backbone to protect our economy and put Canada first?
Oh, snap. He just called Justin Trudeau a stupid weakling. Of course, we've been saying that for months and years. He's just now doing it on the floor of the House of Commons. Good for you, Pierre. Let's see how this turns out.
Speaker, while the Leader of the Opposition focuses on himself and on me.
Oh my God, is it ever sickening to see how happy he is that the Conservative leader is focused on him. No, Justin, he's more focused on the damage you're doing than on you. But you just continue to be giddy and happy that he's focused on you.
We're staying focused on Canadians. We're investing in the kinds of things that are going to help people. We stood up for dental care. We stood up to deliver a school foods program. We're moving forward with more spaces of $10 a day childcare. All things that the Conservative Party voted against. But most recently, Mr. Speaker, they've announced they're going to be voting against the GST break for Canadians over the next couple of months. Something that's going to help people at a time where they need that little extra help. But he doesn't care about helping Canadians. He just wants them to suffer more, so maybe he has a chance.
Mr. Speaker, he's lost control of our borders. He's lost control of immigration. He's lost control of spending.
That's right.
And with that erratic performance, we now see that he's lost control of himself. No wonder foreign leaders believe they can walk all over him. They see him as a weak, incompetent leader who does not even have the support of his own party.
Yes.
Why won't he put the country first for a change, allow a carbon tax election so Canadians can have a Prime Minister who will protect this country?
The reality is, Mr. Speaker, we've got our sleeves rolled up. We are fighting for Canadians every single day. We will stand up for good Canadian jobs. We will make sure we continue to have great relations with the United States as we build a stronger future on both sides of the border. We're going to continue to deliver the kinds of things that matter for Canadians. Dental care, free insulin, school food programs, all programs the Conservatives voted against, and now they're going to vote against a GST break for Canadians right across the country for the next few months. That's not being there for Canadians, that's being there for himself.
Just to prove how weak and out of control he's become, he just engaged in a mass hallucination, listing off a bunch of programs that actually don't even exist outside of his own head. But if he's not prepared to stand up for the country when it comes to trade, then why don't we have a real election about taxes? He can run on his tiny 2-month tax trick, and I'll run on my common sense plan to axe the tax and axe the sales tax on new homes. How about a carbon tax election now?
But the Conservatives aren't the only ones who thinks that Justin is delusional and is trying to buy votes. Have a listen to this exchange between the Bloc leader and Justin Trudeau.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has ever won unanimously against him. And his so-called Christmas present. Canadians don't want it. Business owners don't want it. Retirees don't want it. Students don't want it. Economists don't want it. Even those who are well off and kind-hearted, they don't want it. No one wants the Prime Minister's Christmas gift. When will the Prime Minister understand that one cannot buy votes? Mr. Speaker, Canadians are struggling. That's why we are offering a tax break to all Canadians for the next few months. A tax break at the restaurant, at the grocery store. We know that Canadians are struggling these days. We have one of the best financial situations of all G7 countries, and that means that we're able to help Canadians a little bit. The Bloc might not want that, but that's because the Bloc Québécois, Mr. Speaker, all they want is to pick fights and squabbles. They don't want the government to truly help Canadians and Quebecers, but despite them in their opposition, that's exactly what we're going to do.
And what do you think that is, Justin? Why do you think people are struggling? Could it be that you're a useless prime minister and you don't know how to run a country or an economy, and that you caused all this struggling? Could that be the case, Mr. Prime Minister?
Mr. Speaker, Canadians who are struggling are those who will not receive a rebate check. You know who is struggling, Mr. Speaker? The Liberals themselves. The Conservatives don't seem to support the proposal. The NDP neither. The Bloc Québécois neither. No one in this House seems to support the rebate check. If the Prime Minister is so sure of himself, why doesn't he make it a matter of confidence and have a confidence vote?
Of course, he won't make it a confidence vote because he knows that all of the parties are against him on this and that he would lose. Now, it would be nice, but it's just not going to happen. Later, Pierre returned to Justin's destructive drug policy, and he questions Justin on this. Let's go back and see the exchange that happened as a result.
The Prime Minister's radical liberalization of hard drugs has been lethal for Canadians, 47,000 of whom have died of overdoses since this Prime Minister took office, more than died in the Second World War fighting for Canada. Overdose deaths are up 200%, and now our American friends say they may hit us with tariffs because of the Prime Minister's liberal policies on fentanyl. How many lives and jobs is this Prime Minister willing to sacrifice for his radical liberal agenda?
Speaker, we are using all the tools at our disposal to save lives and keep communities safe for everyone. Meanwhile, Conservatives are choosing to use struggling people as political props to spread fear and misinformation. From the very beginning, we have been there to work on an evidence-based, compassionate public policy, public health approach. We have been there and we will always be there to work with provinces and territories to meet this time of crisis. While the Conservative leader plays politics, we're going to be there to support Canadians grounded in science and evidence.
Grounded in science and evidence? Well, if that were the case, Justin, how come overdose deaths have skyrocketed? How come people aren't getting off of drugs? How come pain and suffering has increased under your policies? You know, you're not fooling anyone here. You don't know what you're doing.
Well, the science and evidence are now proven. After 9 years of radical liberalization of drugs, overdose deaths are up by 200%. And the worst overdose numbers come from British Columbia, where the policies have been most radically and enthusiastically implemented. But the NDP Liberals claimed that they were backtracking on decriminalization because it became so unpopular. Just this week, NDP Liberals voted for a committee report that called for full legalization of hard drugs. Will the Prime Minister admit that is his real agenda?
Yeah. The full legalization of hard drugs. Are you kidding me? If that is his real agenda, which it probably is, then that proves that he just hates Canada and he hates Canadians. Now, I disagreed with the legalization of cannabis, and I know a lot of my viewers will disagree with me on that. And that's okay. We can disagree and still be friends. However, the legalization of hard drugs, you just have to be completely insane to think that that is a good idea. Look at what his liberalization of drug policy has done thus far it has almost destroyed our country, along with all of his other policies. So no, this is a complete disaster.
Mr. Speaker, having an evidence-based and a science-based approach, compassionate public policy approach grounded in healthcare to the opioid epidemic is what we need to do, not just to save lives, but to create safer communities. While the leader of the opposition plays politics and uses suffering people as props to propagate a brokenist view of this country, we're going to continue to roll up our sleeves, work hard with provinces and territories to respond to this tragedy, to make sure we're putting Canadians first in everything we do.
Well, Justin, I don't believe that you have rolled up your sleeves and worked hard at anything in your entire life. And you saying that you're going to take a science-based approach to solve a problem that you created, well, that would be laughable if it just wasn't so tragic.
The Prime Minister's radical drug agenda is not the only thing that is broken. Our economy is broken as well. We now have 2 million people forced to go to food banks every single month. A 38% increase in chronic homelessness, 1,400 homeless encampments, and just today, Equifax reported that consumer debt is $2.5 trillion. We have the worst household debt of all G7 countries. When will he call a carbon tax election so that we can fix everything he broke?
Yes, you heard that right. We are the worst country in the G7 as far as consumer debt goes. But Pierre goes on to question Justin about the deficit. And it turns out Justin doesn't even know what our deficit is this year, nor does he know what the deficit was last year.
Prime Minister who's lost control of everything. He's lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, and lost control of spending. Recently it came to light that the deficit is much bigger than his finance minister reported in the recent budget. Now, the Prime Minister claims that he can't tell us what the deficit is for this year. Okay, so we'll make it easier for him. What was the deficit last year?
I'm not going to bother playing Justin's response because it goes back and forth several times, and Justin never answers because he can't answer. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what the deficit is this year, and he doesn't know what the deficit was last year. This guy is completely incompetent. And I think that anybody watching this or who pays any attention to question period or parliamentary procedures, anything in committee, will come to the same conclusion. That's just my opinion. I'd love to know what you think. Put your comments down below. And while you're at it, please like this video, share with your friends and on social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so you never miss another video. Also, please join me on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific time for my live stream, where you're invited to join in on the conversation. Finally, I do have links in the description of this video to my website, where you can sign up to take a Canadian firearm safety course, which is a course that you are required to have in order to get your Canadian firearms license, also known as a PAL. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.